I remember the exact moment I should have known. Sunday dinner at Mom and Dad's, 3 weeks ago. Claire laughed at something Ethan said, not her usual polite chuckle, but this breathless, genuine sound I hadn't heard in years. I was cutting into my pot roast when it happened, and the knife slipped slightly in my grip. The laugh lasted maybe 3 seconds, long enough for me to glance up and see her face transformed, animated in a way that made my chest tighten. She was looking at my brother like he'd just told her the funniest joke in the world. All he'd done was make some stupid comment about Dad's tie looking like a dead fish. I went back to my food, told myself it was nothing. Now I know better. The house feels different when you start paying attention. Our place on Maple Street, the one Claire insisted we buy because of the open floor plan and natural light, suddenly feels like a stage set. Everything positioned just right. The throw pillows she fluffs every morning before work. The coffee table books no one reads. The wedding photos arranged at precise angles, like evidence of a life I'm not sure we actually lived. 14 years. No kids, despite years of trying and 2 miscarriages that broke something in both of us. We stopped talking about it after the second one. Just moved on. Claire threw herself into real estate. I buried myself in lesson plans and grading papers. We became roommates who shared a mortgage and occasionally had mechanical sex on Saturday mornings. I used to think we were content, stable, the kind of couple people pointed to and said, "See? Marriage doesn't have to be dramatic." But sitting in my recliner now, watching Claire hum while she loads the dishwasher, I can see it differently. The way she never looks directly at me anymore. How she started wearing perfume to grocery store runs. The sudden interest in yoga classes that happened to coincide with Ethan's odd jobs around town. Ethan, my little brother. 34 years old and still borrowing tools he never returns. Still showing up at family dinners with 3-day stubble and stories about his latest business venture that never quite materializes. Mom and Dad eat it up. They always have. The charming one, they call him. The free spirit. I've been the responsible one since I was 12. The one who got good grades, went to college, married his girlfriend, bought a house, held down a steady job. I thought that mattered. I thought loyalty meant something. 3 weeks ago, when Claire laughed at Ethan's joke, she touched his arm. Just a brief contact, her fingers on his forearm while she caught her breath. I saw it happen. Felt something cold settle in my stomach. But I didn't say anything. I never say anything. Tonight, Claire is telling me about her day while she wipes down counters that are already clean. A difficult client. A showing that went well. Her voice has that practiced quality, like she's reading from a script. I make appropriate sounds. Nod at the right moments. She's wearing the blue dress I bought her for our anniversary, the one she said made her feel beautiful. She hasn't worn it for me in months, but apparently Tuesday evening dishwashing calls for special attire. "Mark?" "You're quiet tonight," Claire said. I looked up from my paper. "Just tired. Long day with the sophomores." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. It never does anymore. "You work too hard. Maybe you should take some personal days, get away for a weekend." The suggestion hit wrong. Too convenient, too eager. "Maybe," I said. "We could go somewhere together, like we used to." Something flickered across her face. Guilt? Irritation? It was gone before I could read it clearly. "Oh, you know how crazy things are with spring listings. Rain check?" she replied. Rain check. For 14 years, everything's been a rain check with Claire. I folded my paper and headed upstairs. She called goodnight from the kitchen, but her voice sounded relieved, like she was glad I was leaving her alone. In our bedroom, I sat on the edge of the bed we've shared for 8 years and tried to remember the last time we had a real conversation. Not logistics about bills or schedules or whose turn it is to call the plumber. An actual conversation about thoughts, feelings, dreams. I can't. The sad part is, I've been defending this marriage to myself for so long that I've forgotten what I'm defending. Claire and I don't fight because we don't care enough to fight. We don't have passion because passion requires vulnerability, and we haven't been vulnerable with each other in years. But that laugh, that genuine, surprised, delighted laugh she gave my brother, that was vulnerability. That was real. I just wasn't the one who earned it. The message comes while I'm making breakfast. Tuesday morning, 7:23 a.m. Claire's in the shower, and her phone lights up on the kitchen counter where she left it charging. The screen shows a preview of a text from E. Same time tomorrow? I stare at those 4 words while the coffee maker gurgles behind me. Such a simple message. Innocent even, if you don't know the context. But I know Ethan's number by heart. I've been calling it since he got his first cell phone in high school, usually to bail him out of some mess or another. The screen goes dark. I keep stirring scrambled eggs that no longer smell appetizing. Claire comes downstairs actually humming, while she towel dries her hair. She's wearing a new blouse I haven't seen before, navy blue silk that costs more than I spend on clothes in 3 months. "Morning, hun," she said, kissing my cheek in that automatic way married people do. Her lips felt cold. She reached for her phone without looking at me, glanced at the screen, and I watched her face carefully. Nothing. No reaction. Just the same pleasant, distant expression she wears when checking weather or email. "Anything important?" I asked. "Just work stuff," she replied. She slipped the phone into her purse and smiled. "You're up early today." "I'm up early every day. Have been for years." But I didn't correct her. After she left for the office, I sat in the kitchen surrounded by the remnants of our perfectly normal morning. Coffee cups in the sink, her toast crumbs on the counter, the faint scent of her perfume still hanging in the air. Same time tomorrow? I've never been good with technology, but 14 years of teaching high school has taught me a few things about digital footprints. Kids think deleting messages makes them disappear. They don't understand about cloud backups and data recovery. Neither, apparently, does my wife. I went upstairs to our bedroom and found Claire's old iPad in the nightstand drawer. She uses it sometimes for real estate presentations. More importantly, it's linked to her iCloud account. Her text messages sync automatically. The device took forever to wake up. My hands were shaking slightly as I navigated to messages. There was the conversation with E. The most recent entry. Same time tomorrow? I scrolled up. Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about your hands. Mark's at that faculty meeting until 9. Come over. I keep replaying what you did to me in your truck. God, Mark would lose his mind if he knew. You're so much better than him at everything. He has no idea what he's missing. The messages went back weeks, maybe months. I stopped reading after I saw my name mentioned 3 more times, each reference like a small knife between my ribs. There were voice messages, too. I pressed play on one, Claire's voice breathy and low. "I can't believe we're doing this, but I don't want to stop. You make me feel alive again." I set the iPad down and walked to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, looked at myself in the mirror. Same brown hair, same tired eyes, same unremarkable face I've seen every morning for 38 years. You're so much better than him at everything. The thing is, Ethan probably is better than me at most things. He's always been funnier, more charming, more spontaneous. I'm the steady one, the reliable one, the one who shows up and does the work and pays the bills and fixes the leaky faucets. But apparently, that's not enough anymore. I went back to the iPad and continued reading. The affair had been going on for 2 months, every Tuesday and Thursday while I was at school board meetings or staying late to grade papers. Sometimes during her open houses on weekends, though I wondered now how many of those showings were real. They'd been to the motel on Route 29, the one Claire and I used to joke about because of its gaudy neon sign. They'd met at his apartment. They'd even used our house in our bed while I was at my chess club meeting. In one message, she mentioned how considerate he was, how he brought her coffee the way she liked it, How he listened when she talked about her dreams. When did I stop listening? When did I stop bringing her coffee? When did I stop being considerate? But even as I asked myself these questions, I knew they weren't really the point. The point was that she didn't talk to me about feeling unheard or unappreciated. She didn't suggest counseling or try to work on our marriage. She just found someone else. My brother. There was a message from yesterday. Mark bought me flowers for no reason. I think he's starting to suspect something. We need to be more careful. Flowers. Right. I bought her daisies on Monday because I walked past the grocery store display and remembered they were her favorites. I thought I was being romantic. Turns out I was being inconvenient. I closed the iPad and went downstairs. Made a sandwich I didn't want. Graded papers that didn't matter. Waited for my wife to come home so she could lie to my face some more. Claire returned at 6:30, right on schedule. She was wearing different lipstick than this morning. Her hair was slightly mussed, despite the lack of wind outside. "How was your day?" I asked, because that's what married people do. "Busy. Showed 3 houses. I think the Johnson listing might get an offer," she replied. She kicked off her heels and padded to the kitchen. "What about you?" "Parent conferences until 5. The usual." She nodded absently while looking through mail. We could have been reading from a script. This same conversation, these same bland exchanges, for months now while she was f***ing my brother and laughing about what a clueless husband I am. After dinner, Claire settled on the couch with her laptop. "Working on a presentation," she explained. But I could see the reflection in the window behind her. She was texting someone. Her face was soft, animated, happy. I wondered if she ever looked that happy texting me. The breathing thing started tonight. Short, shallow breaths like the air in our house had gotten thinner, like something was using up all the oxygen. I knew exactly what that something was. I drove to my parents' house Wednesday afternoon with one purpose: to tell them what their youngest son had done to their eldest. What I expected was outrage on my behalf. Shock. Maybe even the kind of righteous anger that would make Dad slam his coffee mug down and storm over to Ethan's apartment. What I got was silence. Mom looked down at her kitchen table when I finished talking. Dad shifted in his chair and cleared his throat like he was preparing to deliver bad news instead of receiving it. "Mark," Dad said finally, his voice careful, "Ethan's your brother. These things happen in families. It's not like it was some stranger." The words hit me like cold water. These things happen. As if adultery was just a minor family squabble. As if 14 years of marriage meant nothing. As if I was overreacting to a betrayal that barely registered as noteworthy. "These things happen?" My voice came out flat. "Dad, he's sleeping with my wife. In my house. In my bed." Mom finally looked up, her eyes rimmed with something that might have been guilt. "Honey, we know you're upset." "You know." The words slipped out before I could stop them. "You know?" The silence stretched until it became an answer. "How long?" I asked. Dad ran a hand through his gray hair. "Mark, it's complicated." "How long?" "Since Christmas," Mom whispered. Claire mentioned they'd been talking, working through some problems. Working through problems. That's what they called it. My wife complaining about our marriage to my parents while planning to f*** my brother, and everyone deciding the best course of action was to keep me in the dark. "She's been coming here," I said. It wasn't a question. "Those weekend open houses when she said she couldn't make family dinner. She was here. With him." Mom nodded miserably. "We thought maybe if they talked it out." "Talked it out?" I stood up so fast my chair scraped against the floor. "They weren't talking, Mom. They were planning. Planning how to humiliate me while I sat here eating your pot roast and asking why Claire was too busy to join us." "Mark, calm down," Dad said. He was using his stern voice, the one that made me shrink when I was 8 years old. It didn't work anymore. "Don't tell me to calm down. You chose him. You all chose him." It's not about choosing sides, Mom protested. It's about family. I'm family too. The words came out louder than I intended. I'm your son too. But apparently that doesn't matter when your favorite boy wants something that belongs to me. The truth of it sat heavy in the room. Ethan had always been their favorite, the charming one, the one who made them laugh at family dinners while I sat quietly and ate my food and tried not to feel invisible. Where is he? I asked. Mark, don't do anything stupid, Dad began. Where is he? Dad sighed. Upstairs. But I was already moving toward the staircase. Behind me, I heard Mom calling my name, but it sounded distant and unimportant. I found him in the kitchen, coming down the back stairs with a protein shake in his hand. He was wearing gym clothes and that easy smile that had gotten him out of trouble his whole life. When he saw me, the smile didn't falter. Hey, Mark. Mom said you stopped by, he said. He took a sip of his shake like this was a normal family visit, like he hadn't been f***ing my wife 24 hours ago. We need to talk. Sure. He leaned against the counter, completely relaxed. What's up? What's up? Like I was there to discuss weekend plans or ask him to help me move furniture. Claire, I said. Now the smile shifted slightly, became more careful. What about Claire? You know what about Claire? He shrugged, and that casual gesture, that complete lack of shame or guilt or even basic acknowledgement of what he'd done, broke something inside me. It just happened, Mark. These things. That was as far as he got before my fist connected with his jaw. I'd never hit anyone in my life, never been in a fight, never thrown a punch, never even raised my voice in anger. But 38 years of being the good son, the reliable brother, the steady husband, all of it exploded in one moment of perfect clarity. Ethan staggered backward, his protein shake flying across the kitchen floor. His hand went to his mouth, came away bloody. Jesus Christ, Mark, he shouted. Behind me, Mom screamed. Dad started saying something about calling the police. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was looking at my brother, really looking at him for the first time in years. He wasn't charming. He was selfish. He wasn't free-spirited. He was lazy. He wasn't lovable. He was a parasite who took what didn't belong to him because he'd never had to work for anything in his life. And everyone had protected him. Everyone had made excuses for him. Everyone had enabled him to become the kind of man who would steal his brother's wife and then act surprised when there were consequences. You broke my f***ing jaw! Ethan's voice was muffled by the hand covering his mouth. Good, I said. Maybe now you'll remember what happened the last time you took something that wasn't yours. I walked past my parents without looking at them. In the driveway, Dad called after me, something about working this out like adults. But I was done working things out. I was done being the adult in a family that treated me like a child. The steady one had just become unpredictable, and it felt fantastic. I drove for 3 hours without going anywhere specific. Past the high school where I'd taught for 12 years, past the diner where Claire and I had our first date, past the motel where she'd been meeting my brother every Tuesday and Thursday. My phone rang constantly. Claire, Mom, Dad. I didn't answer. Couldn't think of a single thing any of them could say that would matter now. Eventually, I ended up at Riverside Park, sitting on a bench overlooking the James River. It was the same bench where I'd proposed to Claire 8 years ago. I remembered thinking then that we were building something solid together, something that would last. I was wrong about a lot of things. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Claire. Where are you? Your parents called. We need to talk. We need to talk. After 2 months of sneaking around, now she wanted to talk. I thought about the voice message I'd heard this morning. You make me feel alive again. The implication being that I made her feel dead. That our marriage was something to be endured rather than enjoyed. You're too loyal, she'd told me once. It's almost boring. I thought she was joking. Now I wondered if it was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. Another text. Mark, please. I know you're angry, but we can work through this. Work through this. Like it was a communication problem instead of a complete betrayal of everything we'd promised each other. A third text. I love you. Please come home. I love you. 3 words that should mean everything and now meant nothing. Because if she loved me, really loved me, she wouldn't have been able to do what she did. The sun disappeared behind the trees, and the temperature dropped. I should go home, face whatever conversation was waiting for me, play the role of the hurt husband trying to save his marriage. But I didn't want to save it anymore. That was the revelation sitting there in the growing darkness. I didn't want to forgive Claire. I didn't want to work through our problems. I didn't want to pretend that what happened was some kind of mistake we could recover from. I wanted to be done. I drove home slowly, taking the long way through neighborhoods I'd lived in for 8 years but never really seen. The houses looked different in the dark, bigger, more mysterious, like they belonged to other people living other lives. Our house was lit up when I pulled into the driveway, every window glowing, like Claire was trying to signal that life went on as normal. She was waiting in the living room when I walked in, still wearing the blue silk blouse from this morning, though it was wrinkled now. Her eyes were red from crying. "Thank God," she said, standing up. "I was so worried. Your parents said—" "I know what my parents said." She stopped moving toward me. Something in my voice, maybe, or my posture, or the fact that I wasn't rushing to reassure her that everything would be okay. "Mark, we need to talk about what happened with Ethan," she said. "No, we don't. He said you hit him. That's not like you. How would you know what's like me? You haven't been paying attention." Her face crumpled slightly. "I deserve that. I know I've made mistakes." "Mistakes?" The word came out flat. "Claire, mistakes are forgetting anniversaries or leaving dishes in the sink. What you did was a choice. Multiple choices made over months to lie to me every single day. I never meant for it to happen. It just happened. Right. Your clothes just fell off. You just happened to be in the same bed where I sleep every night. You just accidentally sent voice messages about how much better he is than me." She went very still. "You read my messages." "I did. That's a violation of my privacy." The audacity of it almost made me laugh. "Your privacy? You've been f***ing my brother in our house and you're worried about privacy?" "Don't be crude," she said. "Claire, you spent 2 months being crude with Ethan. You described things you did with him that you've never done with me. You compared us, in detail, so don't suddenly develop delicate sensibilities." She sank back into her chair, tears starting again. "I didn't mean those things. I was just caught up in the excitement." Excitement. That's what she called destroying our marriage. "Did you ever love me?" I asked. The question caught her off guard. "Of course I love you. That's why we can work through this." "That's not what I asked. Did you ever love me? Really love me? Or was I just convenient?" She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. The silence stretched until it became an answer. "I see," I said. I went upstairs to our bedroom and pulled my old duffel bag from the closet. Claire followed, talking the whole time about counseling and forgiveness and working to rebuild trust. I packed methodically. Clothes, toiletries, the journals I'd kept since college. "Where are you going?" she asked. "Away." "For how long?" I looked at her standing in the doorway of the bedroom we'd shared for 8 years. She was still beautiful, still the woman I thought I'd grow old with. But she was also a stranger who'd been playing a role for months, maybe years. "I don't know." "Mark, please. I'll do anything. I'll never see him again. I'll quit real estate and find another job. We can move somewhere else, start over." Start over. Like geography could fix what was broken between us. It's too late for that. It's never too late. Marriage is about forgiveness, about choosing each other even when it's hard. You're right, I said, zipping up the bag. It is about choosing each other. But you didn't choose me, Claire. You chose Ethan. You chose excitement over stability. You chose lies over truth. At the front door, I turned back to look at her one last time. I left the house keys on the kitchen counter, I said. My lawyer will be in touch. Your lawyer? Her voice went very small. Mark, no. We can work this out. We just need time. We had time. 14 years of it. You decided to spend the last 2 months of that time with someone else. I walked out into the night air and didn't look back. Behind me, I heard Claire calling my name, but it sounded distant and unimportant, like someone else's problem. The divorce attorney had sharp eyes and a sharper reputation. Rebecca Morrison. Her office overlooked downtown Richmond, all glass and steel that made you feel like you were floating above the messy lives of ordinary people. Mr. Ellison, she said, reviewing the documents I'd brought. This is quite thorough. Text messages, call logs, financial records. You've been busy. I'm a teacher. I believe in documentation. She almost smiled at that. What are you looking for in terms of settlement? No alimony. I want a clean break. She can have the house. I don't want it anymore. Just my retirement account and half the other assets. That's generous considering the circumstances. I don't want her money. I want her gone. Rebecca nodded and made notes. Virginia is a no-fault state, but adultery can still influence property division and spousal support. With this evidence, we can certainly ensure you won't be paying alimony. Good. I'll file the papers this afternoon. Your wife will be served within 48 hours. After the lawyer, I sat in my truck across from Claire's real estate office and composed an email to her broker. Mr. Chen, I thought you should be aware that one of your agents has been conducting personal business during work hours. Please see attached screenshots showing romantic text messages sent from company devices during showings and office time. Respectfully, Mark Ellison. I attached 3 screenshots, just enough to create problems without opening myself to legal issues, and hit send. Next stop, the bank. I removed my parents from my emergency contacts and updated my beneficiary information. At home, my temporary apartment across town, I updated my will, removed family as executors, changed passwords on every account I could think of. The administrative nature of divorce was oddly comforting. Each form completed, each signature notarized, each loose end tied up, brought me closer to freedom from people who never deserved my loyalty in the first place. My phone rang constantly. I didn't answer. After the 3rd voicemail from my mother, I listened to one. Mark, honey, please call me back. I know you're angry, but family is family. We can work through this. Ethan feels terrible about what happened. He wants to apologize. Ethan feels terrible. Not about destroying my marriage, but about getting punched for it. I deleted the message without listening to the others. Tuesday afternoon, Claire showed up at my apartment. I watched through the window as she sat in her car for 10 minutes, gathering courage. When she finally knocked, I opened the door but didn't invite her in. The divorce papers, she said. Mark, this is insane. You can't just throw away 14 years. I'm not throwing them away. You already did that. 1 mistake. 2 months of mistakes. Hundreds of lies. Thousands of opportunities to stop and remember you were married. Her eyes filled with tears. I know I hurt you. I know I was wrong. But this is extreme. Divorce? We can go to counseling. We can work through this. Claire, I need you to understand something. This isn't a negotiation. This isn't a temporary separation while I cool down. This is over. Permanently. But I love you, she protested. No, you don't. You love the idea of me. The steady income, the predictable schedule, the husband who never questions where you go or what you do. But you don't love me. I closed the door while she was still talking. Through the window, I watched her sit in her car for another 20 minutes, probably calling Ethan or my parents to complain about my unreasonableness. Wednesday evening, my mother showed up. I almost didn't answer the door, but curiosity got the better of me. "Mark, this has gone far enough," she said. She was using her disappointed mother voice, the one that used to make me apologize even when I hadn't done anything wrong. "Has it? You can't just cut off your entire family over this. Ethan made a mistake." "Stop." I held up a hand. "You had a choice when you found out about the affair. You could have told me, protected me, shown loyalty to the son who's never caused you a moment's trouble. Instead, you chose to protect Ethan." "We were trying to protect everyone," she began. "You were protecting your favorite son at my expense, just like you've done our entire lives." Her face went white. "That's not true." "Isn't it? Who did you call when Ethan got arrested for drunk driving? Me. Who bailed him out? Me. Who paid his credit card debt when he couldn't find work? Me. And when he decided to destroy my marriage, who did you support? Him. You're being dramatic." "I'm being honest, and the truth is, I don't want to be part of a family that values charm over character." She tried to hug me. I stepped back. "Don't," I said. "You made your choice. Now live with it." She left crying, and I felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, no sadness. Just relief that the conversation was over. Thursday, my principal called about my resignation letter. I explained the situation in clinical terms: divorce, family issues, need for a fresh start. "I'm sorry to hear that, Doctor," Williams said, "but you're one of our best teachers. Are you sure you want to transfer?" "I'm sure. I've already applied for positions in other districts." Friday afternoon, I got a text from an unknown number. When I opened it, it was a selfie of Ethan with his jaw wired shut, holding a sign that said, "Sorry." I deleted it without responding. Claire called one more time. I answered. "Mark, please, just tell me what I can do to fix this," she pleaded. "Nothing," I said. "There's nothing you can do. There has to be something, some way to earn your forgiveness." "Claire, you don't get to say sorry now. You had 2 months to choose me over him. You chose to keep lying instead." "But I'm choosing you now." "No, you're choosing to avoid consequences. There's a difference." The line went quiet for a long moment. "I never meant for this to happen," she said finally. "Yes, you did. Maybe not consciously at first, but every time you texted him back, every time you met him somewhere, every time you looked me in the eye and lied about where you'd been, those were choices. You meant all of it." I hung up and turned off my phone. 6 months later, I was sitting in my classroom in Harrisonburg, grading essays about the Revolutionary War while snow fell outside my window. The school was smaller than my old one, the students more engaged, the administration less political. I taught 5 sections of American history and sponsored the chess club. It was a good life. Quiet, but good. My apartment was Spartan: a couch, a bed, bookshelves, and not much else. No photos, no mementos, nothing that connected me to the life I used to live. I ate dinner alone, graded papers alone, watched old movies alone. Some people might call it lonely. I called it peaceful. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. Claire got the house just like I wanted. She also got the debt that came with it. Apparently, real estate wasn't as lucrative as she'd pretended. I heard through my former colleague that she had to take a job with a different agency after the personal conduct issues at her old firm. I didn't feel sorry for her. Ethan left Virginia. Someone told someone who told someone that he moved to Florida, though I didn't know if that was true. I didn't care if it was true. My parents tried calling for weeks after I moved. I never answered. Eventually, the calls stopped. 2 months ago, my mother had some kind of health scare. A neighbor mentioned it to my former principal, who mentioned it to a teacher who thought I should know. I didn't call. I didn't visit. I didn't send flowers. They weren't my emergency contact anymore. They lost that privilege when they chose to enable my betrayal instead of preventing it. The hardest part wasn't the loneliness. It was the way other people reacted when they found out I had no family. The pitying looks, the careful questions about holidays and birthdays. They didn't understand that cutting them off wasn't a punishment. It was self-preservation. You can't trust people who've proven they'll sacrifice you for someone else's convenience. You can't love people who think your pain matters less than their comfort. Tonight, like most nights, I sat at my desk and graded papers until my eyes got tired. Then I made a simple dinner and read until bedtime. The routine was soothing in a way my old life never was. No drama, no hidden agendas, no wondering what secrets people were keeping. There was a teacher here, Jennifer, who seemed interested in more than friendship. She was divorced too, understood the need for space and time. We'd had coffee a few times, talked about books and movies and safe topics that didn't require sharing emotional wounds. Maybe someday I'd be ready for that kind of risk again. But not yet. I thought about Claire sometimes, usually when I was grading papers about loyalty and honor and the principles that built this country. I wondered if she ever thought about me, or if I'd become just another closed chapter in her life story. I hoped she'd learned something from the experience, though I doubted it. People like Claire, people like my family, don't change. They just find new ways to justify old patterns. The snow was getting heavier outside. Tomorrow would probably be a snow day, which meant I could spend Saturday reading instead of grading. Small pleasures, but real ones. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. For a moment, my pulse quickened. Old habits die hard. But it was just Jennifer, asking if I wanted to see a movie this weekend. I thought about it for a moment, then texted back, yes. Progress comes in small steps. Trust rebuilds slowly, if at all. But sitting there in my quiet apartment, watching snow cover the world in clean white, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the fragile peace of denial or avoidance, but the deep peace that comes from knowing exactly where you stand. No hidden agendas, no secret betrayals, no family members plotting against you while smiling at dinner. Just the truth, finally, after all this time. They thought I needed them. The wife who preferred my brother, the brother who took what wasn't his, the parents who enabled his theft. They thought I would come crawling back eventually, apologizing for my overreaction and begging to be included in their dysfunction again. They were wrong. I needed to leave them far more than I ever needed to keep them. The snow kept falling, covering everything in silence. Tomorrow I'd wake up in a world made new, clean and white and full of possibility. I'd make coffee for one, read the paper in peace, maybe call Jennifer and make real plans instead of just talking about them. I'd live the life I should have been living all along. Honest, solitary when I chose, connected when I wanted to be. A life where loyalty meant something and betrayal had consequences. A life where I was the main character instead of everyone else's supporting actor. They thought they could use me and keep me and discard me when something better came along. They thought I would always be there, reliable and forgiving and grateful for their attention. They thought wrong, and now they knew it. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.